Good evening, everybody. My name is Rainer, and this is Rainier Books. When I started the channel 2 years ago, I announced that I wanted to read every bit of work that Richard Ford had written chronologically. I messed up. I read his first novel, A Piece of My Heart, and encountered problems. Two men, two godless pilgrims meeting on an uncharted island in the Mississippi, and an inevitable outburst of violence. It was hard to read. It was difficult to read, I have to admit that. And maybe because English is not my native language, I don't know. I didn't pick up the second novel, The Ultimate Good Luck, and it seems that I put down the project. But a few weeks ago, Jolene from Bookworm, Adventure Girl, and from Canada, and I started buddy reading Canada, Ford's seventh and until now last novel, published in 2012. This is the novel I want to give you a single review about. Let's get started. Starting this review, I'm still in awe for Ford's mastery, and I will read more of Richard Ford, but let's talk about Canada. Ford has said that he has worked more or less 20 years or even more on this novel, which he had written as a short story in 1989 in a town called Dutton, Montana, while he was waiting for enough publishers to send him the final version of his novel, Wildlife. He wrote a story called Canada, 20 pages, and since Wildlife arrived from the publishers in New York, from Knopf, he put down the novel, as I put down my Richard Ford project. And he put it down for 20 years, which he has never done before with a project and never after. But now, in 2012, it was ready. Del Parsons tells the story. He is an eye narrator. He is summarized the plot of the novel in the first two sentences. And these are the first two most memorable sentences of much novels, not of any novel, but of a lot of very memorable sentences. First, I'll tell about the robbery our parents committed, then about the murders which happened later. So this is a novel about a robbery and about some murders. Slowly, Neil Parson reveals important information to us. Extremely well delivered bits every now and then to slowly build up the picture. Without spoilering, we learn late that Nell is now in his mid-60s and living as a teacher and Canadian citizen, and that he will retire soon. What Del has to tell us takes us 50 years back in time to the town of Great Falls, Montana. Great Falls, Montana is a town that Richard Ford has used in a couple of works. And he has said in several interviews that he sort of started writing about Great Falls, Montana before he had even visited the place, because he liked the name so much. It means two different things. It can mean two different things. Great Falls in Great Falls, Montana, and Great Falls in Great Falls, Montana. Del lives with his sister Berner and his parents in a small house in Great Falls. The father, who is from Alabama, has worked for the military in the United States, which is the reason why the family had to move several times during the children's upbringing in several places. Intense and full of details about what happened when Ford builds up a lot of tension that the children felt between the parents and even their outside, since the father has economic problems. He had to leave the army. He's doing some bad deals with Native Americans selling meat from the reservation to Amtrak, to the railways, restaurants. Something bad will happen, and we know that from the beginning, of course, from the first two sentences. But we always feel it around in the atmosphere that Ford is creating in this novel. Nell feels it. As the 15-year-old he is, he has not much power to change anything or to intervene or control the events that happen around him. We just watch our parents and rely on them. That's what happens in our lives too, right? Nell's and Berner's mother really doesn't fit with her father. They're totally different types and totally different characters. She is a child of Polish, Jewish immigrants. She had to more intellectual in a way. Her family had lived in Seattle. But the parents rob a bank in North Dakota in the early 1960s. They get busted, and the children stay with each other alone in the house for some days. The mother has sent a friend to take the kids to Canada, since she's afraid they might be taken by the authorities and that they might be brought into foster care. Berta leaves Great Falls alone, and she just leaves a little letter to Nell. Nell gets picked up and is taken to a small town in Saskatchewan, Canada, where he works in a hotel for a Mr. Arthur Remlinger, an American who came to Canada 20 years ago for some reason nobody speaks about. Rumors exist. And that is where the murders happen, in Canada. On the way through this character-driven 430-something page novel, Ford gives us great characters and detailed descriptions. Like the Saskatchewan we get to know. I always wanted to write about Saskatchewan, about Canada, he said, since the landscape had fascinated me in an interview that I saw before I did this review. And let me read something here from page 229 in this beautiful edition. An old white trailer on rubber wheels sat across the broken street. A rectangular flat-top trailer a person would live in. A TV antenna tilted on its side on the roof. Beside the trailer was an open-mouthed Quonset with a wind sock on top. Beyond that, a tall wooden grain elevator with a steepled roof. The elevator bore faded lettering high up on its bin. It said Saskatchewan Pool, and under that, Portreau. Charlie Quarters' dented international pickup sat outside the trailer. Charlie stood in front of it, speaking to a man holding a straw hat with a tan jacket over his arm and wearing a pale blue shirt. Charlie was still dressed in his black rubber boots, his pant legs stuffed in, and the same flannel shirt. All around, the trailer's yard was strewn with rusted metal implements, tires and empty barrels, bicycles, animal cages, an ancient motorcycle, and a green Studebaker car up on wood blocks, its windows out. Pieces of scrap metal had been bolted or welded together to make odd shapes and set off in the weeds by themselves. A bicycle joined to a sweater blade, a hay baler equipped with a steering wheel and a mirror, a sundial made of a wheel rim. Shining pinwheels and flashing whirligigs had been stuck up on wood sticks in the clutter, fracturing the sunlight. A makeshift wooden flagpole with the same flag as the border was leaned against the trailer side. This is so atmospheric, it's really lovable, and there's so many descriptions like this of people, of landscapes, of places in towns and villages and towns like Great Falls in the beginning. Dell crosses the border to Canada, as we all cross borders in our lives, psychic borders, national borders, and moral borders, and once we're there, we look back and see what we can't get there again, Ford has said later on. In Canada, in the novel Canada, we meet two Del Parsons, the 65-year-old who tells the story and the 15-year-old who experiences how his and his sister's lives changed forever and ever by events they had no influence upon. In using this 65-year-old narrator, Ford allows the narrative about a teenager to be told in a rich and elaborated language that a teenager wouldn't be capable of. This is a book set in an environment that most of us who visit the United States, or even who live in the United States on the East or on the West Coast, few times in our lives probably won't see if we don't have relatives there, if we don't have friends there, or if we don't go cross over America. Nevertheless, the people inhabiting these flyover states exist. They have real lives, and their struggle is similar to ours, their life struggle. The choices they make can drastically change their lives. Dell, at 65, looks back at this and about the point where his life took a drastic turn, where he lost his parents and also his sister, who we will see just a very few times over the course of the next 50 years. All he can do is look back and say yes to his life. He teaches literature to students in Canada, which is very interesting, and several times he mentions the works of the British author Thomas Hardy. I haven't read Hardy myself, but I read about him a little bit now, and what they say is Hardy's characters often encounter crossroads on a journey, a junction that offers alternative physical destinations, but which is also symbolic of a point of opportunity and transition, further suggesting that fate is at work. So that seems kind of a bit similar to Dell's situation, right? But Dell has a different interpretation. He doesn't think that fate is at work. He says Hidden meaning is all absent. We try, is his conclusion. As my sister said, we try. All of us, we try. And that's actually the final sentence of the novel, which is hopefully not a spoiler to you. I think it isn't. It is the ending of a novel so rich, so masterfully composed, so full of atmosphere and character, that I consider it a masterpiece, that every paragraph in this book has a meaning, and it is written with purpose and for some reason. It shows the mastery of a great American writer, and that's why I give Richard Ford's Canada 5 strong stars. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.